Hello everyone, welcome to Stampin' Grotto. Today we are going to be making this very simple greeting card. So this is just a thinking of you card that says you're on my mind. I made this using the Nature's Prints stamp set and some Crumb cake cardstock, as well as early espresso ink and Blackberry ink. So I am going to link everything in the description below, so if you have any interest in purchasing any of the items that I use in this tutorial, you will be able to find the links to my online store below. So let's dive in. Okay, so these are all of the items that we are using to make this card. This is actually a pretty quick to make greeting card. You could do this with lots of different stamp sets in lots of different colors because it is so simplistic. So I'm using the Nature's Prints stamp set, so we'll be using this big stamp here, this kind of ink splotch stamp here, and the You're on My Mind stamp as a sentiment. So those are those here. The ink splotch is going to be stamped in the Early Espresso ink, and we're going to be stamping off first so that we get a more lighter look to that. And then this stamp here is being stamped in the Blackberry Bliss, as well as the sentiment You're on My Mind. And to finish off the card, we are just going to use some of this ribbon. This is the Real Red and Burlap Combo Pack ribbon. And we're just going to cut a strip that is 12 to 13 inches long to wrap around, because we're using a card base and then we're stamping on a separate piece and attaching later. We're just going to wrap the ribbon around that. So let's start with the stamping. So this is just a piece of the grid paper that Stampin' Up sells, and I'm just going to use it as a kind of blotter so that when I stamp, I have a place to stamp off, and as I stamp over the edges, I'm not stamping on my workspace. So I'm just going to take my Early Espresso ink, I'm going to ink it up, and then I'm just going to start stamping around on this. And I am going to try and keep this space here open for the most part, because this is where I'm going to stamp my sentiment. So I am now done with my Early Espresso ink, so I'm just going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to take my Blackberry Bliss, and I'm going to ink up my sentiment. So this is my sentiment. So I want to make sure that it's well inked, but that I don't over ink it. And I am just going to place this right on here, just like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and ink up this larger one, also in the Blackberry Bliss. So just like that. And I'm going to stamp in the center, just kind of right over top of my sentiment. So just like this. And then I'm going to cut my piece of ribbon. I'm going to flip this over. You want to make sure that you don't have any wet ink, but it should be fine. And I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal. And I want to make sure that I'm putting my ribbon right along here. So we're going to make sure that this is in the right spot. And so I have the bow of this tied to the left, so it's going to be tied over on this side. So I want a shorter piece on this side than on the other. And then I'm just going to put a small amount of my Stampin' Seal on this side just to hold this in place so that I can properly tie my bow. So bow's going just right like this. I guess it's not really a bow, it's more of a knot. And then I'm just going to cut my excess because I want to keep these relatively short. Just like this. So now we have our card front done. So this base is in Crumb Cake. It's cut to 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches and scored along this side at 5 1/2 inches to give a standard A2 card base. And I'm just going to take some of my liquid adhesive and I am just going to place it around. You could also use some Stampin' Seal for this as well. And then I'm just going to line everything up and press it down. So you could also stamp on the inside if you wanted to add a little bit more dimension to the inside of the card. So I'm going to leave it plain because I'm not going to add a piece of basic white because I can still write on this. It's not too dark. So I'm just going to add a couple of ink splotches to this. Just to finish it off a little bit more. So there we have the finished card. As you can see, it came together really quickly and really easily. And again, you could do this with lots of different colors and lots of different stamp sets. So, and it is very quick and easy to do. This is also something that you could mass produce fairly easily, just because you could do all of your stamping on, you know, 10 at a time really quickly. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's tutorial, and as always, if you are interested in seeing more tutorials, don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, I will make sure that I put all of the items that I've used to create this card in the description below, so if you are interested in purchasing those, you will find links to all of the items that you can buy through my online store. Thanks everyone!